When you're purchasing your memory card, there's a few things you have to know, and I just wanted to run through them real quick. The most common types of flash cards today are the SD memory card and the CF memory card. The SD memory card is a little bit smaller, and I think we're going to see more cameras using these in the future. Now, the first thing right off the bat that everybody pretty much knows is card capacity. It's how much memory or how much space or how many files you can put onto a single card. As of today, this is measured in gigabytes. So 4 gigabytes or 8 gigabytes or 16 or 32 gigabytes. 32 gigabytes right now is a pretty big card, but I would imagine in a couple years, 64 and 128 will be pretty much standard. The thing that new photographers overlook is card performance and speed. And one of the most common emails that I get these days is when people are recording video, the camera will stop recording after 5 or 10 seconds. And the question is, why is this happening? The reason is because you have a cheap performing memory card. It's not fast enough. It cannot write the files quick enough onto the card. And so the camera's buffer fills up and the camera has to turn off any recording in order to save anything. So it's really frustrating if you're trying to record any video if you do not have a high performing card. Another time you're going to want a very high performance card is if you are a sports or a nature photographer and you're doing these very high bursts, especially in the RAW format. You're also going to need a very high performing card. Older cards used to be measured in X, and there are still manufacturers who make and produce memory cards that are rated in the X factor. More modern cards today are measured in megabytes per second. So the question you might have is, what is the conversion rate between X speed to megabytes per second? It's a great question. X refers to the data transfer rate of a CD audio file. So if you have a CD disc and you're playing music or you were recording onto it, you'll notice that CDs and DVDs have speeds like 2.4x or 8x or 6x. It's the same thing. That is a speed of 1,500 kilobytes per second. So when you do the conversion, all you have to do is multiply whatever X speed you have times 0.15, and that will give you the megabyte speed. So 133x times 0.15 is about 20 megabytes per second.
Another important note is that there are UDMA cards, which stands for Ultra Direct Memory Access. Without going into too much detail, UDMA cards are designed to transfer large chunks of data faster without overloading the processor. UDMA supported cards seem to be more reliable when shooting video, and I definitely recommend them if you are. So, how fast of a card should you get if you are shooting video or doing lots of raw still photography? Most camera manufacturers will say that 20 to 30 megabytes per second is more than enough. And you know what? I know people who swear by 15 megabyte per second cards as well. However, this is not what I recommend. I realize not everyone will agree with me on this, but the best advice I can give you is to get the fastest, best quality UDMA card that you can afford. I own and have used 30 megabyte cards in the past, but I find myself using the 60 and 90 megabyte per second cards almost exclusively now for the following reasons. Number one, I have fewer recording failures, and I had them even with the 30 megabyte per second cards. Number two, I have fewer dropped frames, and this is something that you may not catch the first time when you watch a video. A dropped frame, when you play it back, what it looks like is a stall in the video. For some reason or another, that frame was not recorded. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. 3, I have fewer overheating problems. If you have ever had to stop shooting because of overheating, you know what a pain this is. 4, and this is the one that a lot of people don't know about, is faster, sustained video write speeds. That maximum speed that you see on the card is the maximum burst speed. And video requires sustained speed, which is a little bit different. If you look at SanDisk's description on its UDMA6 card, it says it has a minimum sustained speed of 20 megabytes per second. That doesn't sound like a lot when you're shooting on a 90 megabyte per second card. You can only imagine what the sustained speeds are on cards that are rated at a much slower speed. Another thing a lot of people don't understand is that, in the case of the 5D Mark II at least, is the camera can detect when slower cards are being used, and it can actually change its compression speed, its writing speed. This can result in actually poor looking video, and you're not going to see it unless you use a really slow card. But the fact that Canon has introduced new firmware updates for both the 5D Mark II and the 7D in 2011 to support these cards and to support faster speeds seems to indicate that the faster card you have, the faster speed the video is going to write. Finally, number 5, faster transfer times. The rate at which your files move from your memory card to your computer depend on the card's speed. If you're using a 10 megabyte per second card, that is going to take at least 9 times as long as a 90 megabyte per second card. And guess what? Video files are typically huge. I have a buddy who was transferring files from his 90 megabyte per second card, and he was wondering why was it taking like 15 hours, and the reason was he did not have a fast card reader. So you do need a fast card reader, but if you invest $40 or $50, say in a lexar Firewire 800 card reader, and you get some of these cards, you are going to save yourself a ton of time. And that's why I recommend the faster the card, the better. You've invested a lot of money into your camera, why tie it down with a cheap card?